Yo, what's good, everybody? We back with another one. I know this question has been on a lot of people's mind, and that question is, what keeps Bitcoin safe? What protects it? What convinces people that this network is unhackable, impenetrable, immutable, untouchable by governments and the powers that be? And so, I want to break down the protocol that actually allows Bitcoin to be as secure as it is. This protocol was designed by the NSA in the early 1990s. This protocol is called SHA-256. So SHA 256 for those of you who don't know. SHA just stands for Secure Hash Algorithm. So 256 is basically just the representation of how this algorithm hashes information or codes information. So I got Cab in the studio with me. What's going on, Cab?
Doing good, doing good.
Good. I'm glad to have you, man. I know this was also another question that you had, and true OG Bitcoiners, this is the pinnacle of what allows them to go completely within, like 100% into Bitcoin. What allows them to verify, not trust. The whole purpose of this Bitcoin protocol was to just eliminate the need for trust. I don't want to be involved or put all my eggs in the basket of anything that requires me to trust. That's been the issue with humanity since the beginning of time. So Satoshi came up with something where trust wouldn't even be a factor. So I want to take some extra time with you, Cap, and any of our viewers out there and just kind of go over this SHA-256 protocol and watch a quick little video where it's being broken down. And as we go through the video, feel free to chime in and, ask whatever questions, because 9 times out of 10, the viewers might have the same questions and it'd be an opportunity to, simplify a lot of this complex stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pull this video up here.
hmm
All right,
as our input, pass it.
let's go ahead and start
We are
that
going
over.
to take the name of this YouTube channel, Red Block Blue, as our input, pass it through the SHA-256 algorithm, and give you the step-by-step process of how to get the 256-bit output. So first of all, we use ASCII to convert our input into pure binary form, because after all, that is the only language that the computer understands. Capital R is matched to this 8-bit number, E to this 8-bit number, and D to this 8-bit number, and you get the idea. So we do that for each of the 12 characters in our input, and then we can just concatenate them all into one long 96-bit input. And we could write this as this long, big string of zeros and ones, but we're going to tidy things up and order things in this way. So we have each row is 32 bits. Before we get to the calculation part, we'll have to do some pre-processing. So the purpose of why we're doing this is because we need the input to be a multiple of 512, and at the moment it is of length 96. So we round up to the nearest multiple of 512. So in our case, we're going to just round up to 512. But if our input was 960, we would round up to 1024. So
I just want to stop this real quick. And Cab, you might have been keeping up with the Chinese he was just speaking, right? But just so far, just being barely a minute into this video, and this guy is already breaking down something so complex, how to understand binary language. And you just got to understand, like, if you're not one of those people who understand binary language or how computers communicate, then you got to understand this whole Bitcoin thing is so above your level of comprehension that you just got to kind of bow down and respect the fact that somebody traveled this path and put all of their thought and all of their power and creativity into this thing being possible for humanity. So let's just give a quick little shout out to Satoshi right there, man, for being willing to dive into this difficult ass shit, man. Shout out to Satoshi, man. We appreciate you. We love you, baby. All right, let's keep the video going.
first thing we're going to do is we're going to append a single 1 bit to our input. That'll take us up to 97 bits. And then we're going to just keep adding 0 bits until we get 64 bits away from the nearest multiple of 512. So in our case, that's going to be 448. And the last 64 bits which we have left, this is going to be used to encode the original length of our input, that is 96, into its 64-bit binary representation. And after we have done all this, our padded input will have a bit length that is a multiple of 512. So here is our original input, which is 96 bits. We add a singular 1 bit and keep adding zeros until we get to 448 bits. Now the remaining 64 bits are used to represent the original length of the input, which was 96. And 96 written as a binary number is 1100000. But because we're using 64 bits to represent this, we have a load of zeros at the beginning, and then we have 1100000. So now we have our padded input of 512 bits. The next thing we do is split our padded input into 512-bit blocks, but because our padded input is only 512 bits, then we only have one block. So in our case, this capital N here is just equal to 1. So this is extremely simple. And so all we have to do now is split the 512-bit block input into 16 32-bit words. And luckily we've already organized our bits into this format where we have each row representing 32 bits, so we can just label each row M0 to M15, and these are our 16 32-bit words. So here we're going to be setting some initial what they call hash values. And so what are these? Well, there are 8 of them and there are 32 bits each, giving 256 bits in total. So we're going to initialize these, and then we're going to do some stuff to them, and then we're going to end up merging them, and then that will be our 256-bit output. So where do these numbers come from? Well, we take the first 32 bits of the fractional parts of the square roots of the first 8 prime numbers. Now you may be thinking, why on earth are we doing this? This is just to ensure that these are indeed random and there are no backdoors into this algorithm. If you want to know what I mean by backdoor, then here is a video that I highly recommend watching. So the first prime number is 2, and when we take its square root, we get something which looks a bit like this. And now what we're going to do is take the fractional part of that and convert it into binary. Now let's get rid of the 0 and the decimal point, and let's convert these zeros and ones into its hexadecimal format. And as you can see, we get H0. To get the other H's, we just do the same thing with the other 7 prime numbers. Some other constants we need to be aware of is K0 to K63. Now these are derived by taking the first 32 bits of the fractional parts of the cube roots of the first 64 prime numbers, which is a mouthful to say the least, and I'm not going to go through how to derive them because it's the same as what we just did with the square root of 2, but here's all you need to know. Here is K0, for example, here is K7, and here is K62. Now we move on to the computational steps. So here we have a for loop, but as I've said, because this capital N for us is 1, because our padded input is only of length 512, we only do one iteration through this for loop. So we have to prepare something called a message schedule, which is these WT things from W0 to W63. Now each of these are 32 bits in length, the first 16 of which are just equal to M0 to M15, and then W16 up until W63 is given iteratively by this formula. This would be pretty easy to understand, except we don't know what these mean. So what is sigma 0 and sigma 1? Well, here it's defined, but it looks very messy. So let's give a quick and easy example. Let's take a 32-bit input, let's call it X. We'll first do a right rotation of 7 of X, which basically means we get each bit and we just move it over 7 bits. So this bit here where the red arrow is pointing gets moved to here where the blue arrow is pointing, and we do the same for each and every bit. But these last 7 bits, they have nowhere to go, and so we loop them back around. And after we do that, we get this number. Now we do the same, we get a right rotation of 18 of X, and we get this number. And finally, we get something called a right shift of 3, where we do the exact same as we have just done, but instead of looping those numbers around, we just set all of these to 0. So you can think of them as being pushed off a cliff or something, or however you want to think of it. And so the output of sigma 0 of X is given as this. We have these 3 numbers, and we do bitwise addition modulo 2. So to get the rightmost bit, we do 1 plus 0, which is 2, which is 0 mod 2. The second is 0 plus 1 plus 0, which is 1, which is 1 mod 2. And we do the same over and over again, and we end up with this number. Sigma 1 is the exact same, pretty much, but we do a right rotation of 17, followed by a right rotation of 19, followed by a right shift of 10. And then we do bitwise addition modulo 2, and we get the output of sigma 1. So back to where we were. Now let's take a concrete example and shove t equals 16 into here. So we have W16 equals sigma 1 of W14 plus W9 plus sigma 0 of W1 plus W0. W14 is just all zeros. W9 lives somewhere up here, which is all zeros. W1 is this thing, so we'll put that there. And W0 is this thing, so we'll put that by there. Sigma 1 of all zeros. So if we do a right rotation of 17 and then do a right rotation of 19 and then do a right shift of 10 and then add these bitwise modulo 2, we, not surprisingly, get all zeros.
I just want to pause it right here real quick, Cap. We more than halfway through this video. This is very difficult to keep up with. I've actually myself have never seen an explanation like this fucking nerdy. I'll just call it that. This is a very fucking nerdy explanation of
Very still very intricate, but if it's one thing I'm getting from it, I'm like, well, something this complex, ain't nothing getting hacked in this network. That's what I do get from it.
what he's breaking down. He's not even breaking down how Bitcoin utilizes the SHA-256 network. He's breaking down how SHA-256 itself creates its hashes for each input. So every time a input is added, it changes the hash completely. So whereas your name is spelled Keenan, if I was to put a period, that would change the hash. If I was to put an exclamation after that, that would change the hash. If I was to add a 1 or 2 or 3, that changes the hash. Every time I put another number on that, it changes the hash completely. So I think they said there is a fixed number of possibilities, but that fixed number, Cap, is a 77-digit number. I want you to kind of picture that in your head. I want you to try to picture saying a 77-digit number. It's unfathomable. Even a calculator can't pull it up. So
that's like what? More than a zillion.
Yeah, because a zillion is not like, because, okay, where does zillion fall? I mean, because you got trillion, you got quintillion, you got septillion, octillion. I don't know if
Zillion
you
is
got it's where?
zillion is a kind of million, billion, trillion. Actually, no, I think doesn't zillion come after trillion?
I can't be sure of that. I thought it was quintillion. I thought quintillion comes after trillion.
Maybe right. Like I said, I know it's up there. I know zillion is up there, but like I say, it still doesn't. Yeah, 77 digits. Nah, that's a lot. You wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
count to it. I know that much.
yeah, you wouldn't even be able to begin to put comprehension on it. That's what I'm saying. So that's the number of possibilities of hashes that are available at any given moment. And basically, every time these miners around the world compete for new Bitcoin blocks to unlock Bitcoin, they have to figure out which hash the network is using. And so your best bet is to guess, because there's not a there you can't computate it. All you can do is guess it, and you have to. The best bet is to start from 0 and keep adding. Is it 0? No. Is it 1? No. Is it 2? Is it 3, 4, 5? And you keep going all the way up. But guess what? Computers need energy to be able to do that and can compute all the way up. So with these ASIC miners that these Bitcoin miners are using, these ASIC miners can take basically 1 trillion guesses per second. That's a lot of guesses, right?
That is.
That means you can count to 1 trillion in 1 second. And so that's what these computers are expending energy doing. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close out this video.
And so we add to that another load of all zeros, and then we have sigma 0 of something that's not all zeros, which is more interesting. So we take a right rotation of 7, we take a right rotation of 18, and we take a right shift of 3, and we have these 3 numbers, and then we do bitwise addition modulo 2, and this is our final output. So we'll put that here in orange, and then we just have this end term as well. What we're going to do now is addition modulo 2 to the 32. And the reason we're doing this modulo 2 to the 32 is to ensure that W16 here is 32 bits in length. So the first 2 terms are 0, so we can just ignore them. And if we add these two 32 bits on the right here, modulo 2 to 32, then we end up with this. And that is our W16. So let's put that up here with the rest of them. And I'm not going to go through W17 up to 63, but they are given in the exact same way, iteratively using this formula. So this is all within the same for loop, remember? And so the next step, we initialize A through to H as H0 through to 7, which sounds a bit messy here right now, but it will all make sense very, very shortly. We don't need these superscripts, as I've mentioned a couple of times already, that our capital N is 1, and so we're not going to be looping through this for loop more than once. These were the values we had earlier for our H's, and this is in hexadecimal format, so we'll convert all of them into binary so we can really understand what's going on here. And now we have a for loop, which we are going to go through. These last lines here are all very, very straightforward, and there's no need to go through that. But these first two lines look a bit more complicated. So firstly, what is the first line? We have T1 equals H, we know what H is. Capital sigma 1, we don't know what that is, but it's a function and it takes E as its input, we know what E is. CH, we don't know what function that is, but we pass EFG through that. And we add K0, which we know what that is, and we add W0, which we know what that is. So these capital sigmas, sigma 0 and 1, they're defined pretty much the same as their lowercase counterparts, but instead they don't have a right shift value. They're just all right rotations followed by a bitwise addition modulo. Oh no, I should not say 2 to 32, that should say 2, but I'm not going to change that now. And so yes, the sigma 0 we have 2, 13, 22, sigma 1 we have 6, 11, 25. And this CH function, the CH stands for choose. So this first parameter here, E, plays an asymmetric role in this. We're going to use the bits from E to tell us out of the inputs F and G, which ones to take as our final output. So that may not make much sense, but here's an example. We have our first bit here, our leftmost bit, as 0. This tells us to go to the third input, and so we take 0 as an output. The second bit of E is 1, and so this tells us to go to the second input and take our output as 0. And then the third bit of E is 0, and so we again go down here and take that as part of our output. And if you're going to ask me, hang on, wouldn't this make more sense if we had a 0 bit in our E, then we would go to F, and at 1 bit we would go to G? That would make more sense to me also. I have no idea why they're doing it this way, but they are. After we do all that, we have this as our final output. So now we know what they all are. Here is H. Here is sigma 1 of E, well there's E, and then we apply sigma 1 to it and we get this. Here is CH of EFG, which we have just done. Here is K0, which remember it was this thing over here, highlighted in orange. And so we'll put that there, and we have W0, which we defined a few seconds ago, or 30 seconds ago or something. And now we do addition modulo 2 to the 32 to ensure that T1 is of bit length 32, and we get this. This second part here, T2, what does that equal? T2 is capital sigma 0 of A plus maj ABC. What's going on here then? We know what sigma 0 is. Maj stands for majority, and there's no asymmetric role being played here, unlike the choose function. So we look at the first column and we see 0, 1, 0. So the majority of the bits are 0. We go to the second column, we see 1, 0, 0. So the majority of the bits are 0. The third, they're all 1, so the majority are 1, and we keep doing that, and we get this as our output. So let's take sigma 0 of A, here is A, and once we do all the right rotations and then the bitwise addition modulo 2, we get this output. And if we take the majority of ABC bitwise, we get this as I just showed. And here is our output for T2. Everything highlighted in that pink box over there is extremely simple to follow, because we're literally just, all we're doing there is switching around some stuff and doing some simple addition. So that was it for T equals 0. So we do the same for T equals 1 all the way up to T equals 63. So after we run through this for loop, we'll have the values of A through to H is equal to these 32-bit numbers here. And then we update our H's, and we do so by adding the A, B, C, D's, E, F, and G and H's to our original H values. And once we update these H values, we get these 8 32-bit numbers. And now we're finished because, as I said earlier, our padded input was only of length 512, and so we only had to go through the outer loop once. And so our final output is given as this thing. Now all these double lines just means shove all of these 32 bits together, merge them into one 256-bit number. So the output of SHA-256 red block blue is this, which is the same thing we have here, but just written in hexadecimal format. And that is it. We are finished. Output is given as this thing. Now all these double lines just means shove all of these 32 bits together, merge them into one 256-bit number. So the output of SHA-256 red block blue is this, which is the same thing we have here, but just written in hex.
So yeah, I want to stop right there. Basically, what he highlighted was this is how the algorithm would hash the words SHA-256, comma, I'm sorry, bracket, parentheses, red block blue, parentheses. Every detail is important because it affects what that final hash is going to be. So when it says 256-bit string of words or characters, not necessarily 256 digits, but basically that's how much data is taken up in any computer. So you're looking that F8, F05, F9 number you're looking at, that is 256 bits worth of data. And SHA-256, no matter how big the file is, you can put you can hash a video file that's 100 and something gigabytes big. It'll still hash it into a 56-bit string of characters. So essentially that's all it does, man. So again, when you see how complicated this is, you see the math that's involved with even conceiving a protocol like this. And again, the NSA created it first, the National Security Association. Basically, or you have to chalk it up. You have to realize that somebody, and whatever you want to think that somebody is, some people say it could be alien technology. Yesterday you mentioned it's possibly God, that the world wants to see better for its people, its organisms, its beings. And something complex had to come up with a system this elaborate to make Bitcoin even possible in the first place. But definitely curious to hear your thoughts on that, Cav, if you got any follow-up questions on it.
Well, definitely, I think it broken down like that in the video because I had always heard of the SHA-256 protocol, especially like in the Twitter or the X space by different people in the Bitcoin community, and how it was created by the NSA, and always had my concerns then. But like I say, after seeing that, yeah, that lets me know that whoever Satoshi is, if he utilized that system to lay the foundation for Bitcoin and blockchain technology, at least for me, like I say, I'm not saying this is gospel, not telling anybody out there, oh, well, you should feel this way too. But like for me, after seeing that, it makes me think, well, that's just more faith I have in this system, because I'm like, that's a lot. Like to create a system like that and for Bitcoin to come to be based on that, I'm like, okay, so you don't really have an excuse to say, what if this happens and what if the system breaks down? I'm like, have you seen how this is constructed? Like I say, that's a lot. I feel bad for the person, for the people at the NSA who had to come up with this, the think tank who actually had to come up with this, because I know they didn't get any sleep. Like the programmers and the mathematicians, like you're talking about years worth of work leading up to creating that system, a lot of sleepless nights. Like that's what it screams to me. And I feel like if somebody goes through the trouble of making a protocol like that, then it deserves further investigation and eventual trust. That's my perspective.
No, you just nailed it. Further investigation is spot on, because I tell people, like, I don't care if you decide that you're going to go ahead and put money into this. That is so secondary to what this shit is and what this shit dares to accomplish. What's primary is the fact that this shit is so elaborate and so successful at what it's already been doing, and the fact that it, by it doing that alone, finding a way to be immutable, indestructible, permissionless, that deserves some form of investigation. So you don't have the luxury, no matter how much money you have, no matter how smart you are, you really don't have the luxury of just excusing something like that.
Hmm.
So, but we'll go more in depth on this topic. I think it's a very important topic, and if we can get somebody who actually understands it more to break it down, even or find some more content that helps us break it down, I'll definitely look forward to doing that as well. But there's a lot that contributes to this network, the decentralization of it, the fact that there is no single point of failure. There's not a single computer, a single headquarter, a single company or entity that you can stop, shut down, uh, try to hinder, that will stop this network or protocol from prospering the way that it has so far. So when you ask what protects Bitcoin, it's just the most robust computing network that mankind has ever seen. Um, it uses over 500 exahash worth of computing power, and that is a very significant number. Basically, in order to reverse the amount of computing power that's currently utilized to protect the network today, it's estimated you would need about 2 Earths worth of energy just to reverse all of the work that's been done, the proof of work that's been done. And
Mm.
unfortunately, you still wouldn't be successful because you would have only reversed 1 block worth of energy. You still have to undo all of the other previous blocks. This is why the blockchain was genius, because each block is its own entity. And each block you would have to fight to destroy to take over the network, because essentially the network could just migrate to a different chain if that chain is threatened.
Seems like
So,
it's a big problem even for AI, from what it like, just seeing it broke down like that, to where it's like, let's say somebody wanted to create you know an AI program to break the system, similar to what we saw uh last week or a short while ago. There was a huge data breach to where this hacker group, they used an AI program to break into. We'll probably have to do it on another episode. I'll have to look it up, but it was it's genius, and the AI program hacked into this whole system and stole, like, a lot of information. But with the way this system is set up, with the way blockchain is designed, makes me see that, wow, this is even hard for AI to break. Like you say, the computing power that goes into trying to undo 1 block is like, is it worth it? And like I say, this is in the age, in 2025, to where AI has gotten so advanced and it can perform millions, even billions of actions per second. But it's like, wow, like this will be a lot even for that, to where it was like, like, okay, it'll be like, okay, I got to take a break, what I'm saying, in terms of trying to hack this system just by the way it's set up. You know what I'm saying?
of course, yeah, that's exactly why. Like, I think Tesla spoke on it first. Tesla talked about humanity requiring an energy-based currency. Henry Ford also spoke on a energy-based currency. This is what they were trying to conceptualize without realizing it. You
Mm-hmm.
need a currency that is measured strictly by energy, because we know that energy can't be created nor destroyed. You can't just create more energy out of thin air. You can only harness what energy already exists. And
Mm-hmm.
so Bitcoin respects thermodynamics to the T, which makes you realize that whoever the founding fathers of this protocol was, they had to have some sort of engineering background and understand thermodynamics for what it is,
Absolutely.
creating a closed system that requires actual energy, and you can't falsify energy. That's the beauty of it. So if AI was going to destroy it, AI would need arms and legs. It would need hundreds of billions of dollars worth of hardware and systems and miners to begin to fight, not to win the fight, but just to begin to fight. So AI is actually smart enough to know that there is absolutely no point in wasting and expending that type of energy, and it actually is much more incentivized to just join the network. That's the whole purpose of this. Incentives is what allows this whole thing to work in the first place. Because, what's my incentive for being a miner or a node on this network? Well, you'll get rewarded Bitcoins. That's a huge incentive. You'll get rewarded transaction fees. That's a huge incentive. So again, we'll go more in depth on that. Just wanted to kind of, just get the conversation going on the type of things that keeps Bitcoin safe. What gives us Bitcoiners the type of conviction that we have to understand that what we're invested in is no fucking joke at all. A lot of people complain Bitcoin ain't fast enough. Well, Bitcoin is the base layer of existence. You don't want the base layer of existence being fast. You want it to be the slowest shit you've ever seen. If I built the house on top of quicksand, what good is that house? If I built it on a slab of marble concrete, then I got a better chance of having a house that lasts.
Mhm.
So, not to go too deep, but again, this is why we have the conviction that we have. So, future episodes we'll go a little bit deeper. But if y'all got any questions, if you want us to dive a little bit more into it, break it down some more, make sure y'all comment, like this video, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content just like this. But as always, y'all, till next time, peace.